Welcome back, YouTubers, and in a world of overkill, I think I've done it. Say, what? 120 amp 12 volt relay? Yes, 10 gauge wires. A broken Pro Systems pump. You had your chance, boy. It's my turn. I figured the best place for the relay would be in this jumbled mess of garbage right here. Already had a hole right there. We weren't making any more holes in the Swiss cheese of an S10, so we'll just do that, and we can put a nut on it right there, and that'll hold it into place. We need to use these connections for right here. This is basically just going to turn the relay on and off with the switch, so when we turn on the pump, this tells relay to engage these big fat boys right here. So we need to wire in these guys. And some of you guys will get butt hurt because I like to solder mine in there also. And some guys will be like, oh, if you solder on there, then it makes the wire brittle, it's gonna break, it's gonna fall off. Yes and no. If it's a big fat wire, chances are it's not gonna break off because you're not putting that in an area where it's gonna bend that much. It'll take a lot for that big one to actually break. These small ones, yes, they can break because they're such a small wire and it will make them brittle. So what I do, and there we go. So now, look at that. You have a chemical connection that won't corrode. And over here, you don't have any solder on it, so it won't break off. So you know what? We're good to go. So let's go ahead and take the rest of this. And there we have it. All right, so back to the rat's nest. The relay is pretty much wired in. This goes inside to a switch inside the cab, turn the pump on and off. This right here is the ground for the relay. I'm not sure how you guys do your grounds, but I take a bolt and I weld it to the frame, and then you can take your ring terminals and just slide them over that bolt. Then you can take little washers, kind of space them out so they're not cramped right on top of each other. And you can take a nut and just tighten it down, add, take them off, whatever you want without cutting or pulling things off. And it does not get much better than that for a ground as far as I'm concerned. And this right here is the hot wire. I hot wire mine directly off the alternator. I still need to get a inline fuse. I couldn't find any fuses that were 10 gauge. So I ordered one, but right now it says hot wire directly to it without a fuse. It'll be fine just for right now until I get that part in the next couple of days. Man, this little heater right here, it is not cutting it. Let me turn on the afterburner. There we go. Now we got some power. So now we get to run 87, which is this side right here. 30 is the battery side, or in my case, alternator. Going 87 all the way back. But first I have to pull the old wire out, which is not big and hefty. I mean, it's still, I think it's a 12 gauge, but if we're gonna put a big beefy relay like that in, let's put in some big beefiness right here, baby. So we're back here, and here is my homemade shock mount. All right, there we go. She is mounted pretty good. I put some blue Loctite, all these guys right here. If I was gonna torque those guys down right there, then they'd pretty much not even be shock absorbers at that point. So that is my DIY shock absorption mount for this A1000. All right, so the wire has been run. The rat's nest has been tucked back in there. I'm gonna do a whole video on these guys right here. These are the China filters, ones you can get off of Amazon, eBay, all that good stuff. But the Aeromotive filter elements will fit right into these guys. And down there I have one that's a little bigger. I forget the millimeter on these. I think the one down there is 52 millimeter. So let's go down there and check that one out. And right here, you can see it's a lot bigger. I mean, it's huge. It's got the same filter element in there. This is a 100 micron Aeromotive filter element. So everything is all hooked up, ready to go. Let's go ahead and piss off the neighbors this evening. I guess evening is the wrong word. Let's just say nighttime. The joys of a cold start with the carburetor and no choke. This is gonna be fun, fun, fun. Cold start, baby! Looks like we got some heat in it. Jesus, I think I pissed somebody off. Let me get out this garage real quick before I die of fumes. Shoop. It's a new day, obviously. So let's switch over to something just a little more compact for the road right here. The old GoPro. Probably won't matter, but for a short ride I'm doing, let's go bring one more of these guys with us just for redundancy. So we're back, and you guys are probably wondering, what is a third member, a broken axle, two axles, and a converter doing right here? What does it have to do with your fuel pump? Well, I remember when I was first getting into nitrous, I was like, I'm gonna make a vehicle that works super good on motor and works super good on nitrous. And the reality about this, folks, is you really can't have, both of them. You have to either choose one or the other. This 8-inch converter right here and these 28 spline axles and this 411 gear were obviously the wrong setup for nitrous, and it will run faster motor this way. And we have the Dragy information I just did in that hit, and I have some of my times right here to prove. You'll get a whole bunch of different opinions online. So let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. And this is actual data I'm giving you guys. So here is the best time in a time that the LT1 ran motor, which is a 10.8 at 122 a mile per hour. It had a pretty decent 60, 1.74, and that was with this 8-inch converter, very loose converter. I think it flashed right around 5,000, 5,200, but on the kit it would flash way past it, and the whole thing was so violent when it came out the line on just 150 shot that I really needed something to tame it down. So what I did after I broke this axle, I put 31 spline axles, and I put a 389 gear in it, and it was a full spool. And a lot of people said, oh man, you're gonna slow that thing down. It doesn't even matter if you're using nitrous, it's gonna run slower, and blah, 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 blah. But the reality of the situation is it actually ran the best time it ever ran with 150 shot, with the setup, longer gears, tighter converter, and bigger axles. So some of y'all so-called internet experts, keyboard warriors, need to pay attention to data, because you're wrong. So here is the Dragy time that I just captured. You saw that footage on my GoPro, and let's go over that. And of course, you can't compare, you can't really compare a street hit compared to a fully prepped, track hit. But we can get mile per hour off this. The mile per hour from these Dragys and the time is actually very, very accurate. Mine usually does trap higher if I get a better 60. Some people say theirs traps higher if they spin. I have the opposite effect in my S10. It usually traps like a mile per hour or so higher. So we'll look at the 60 real quick. And the 60, you know, was a 182 compared to a 147. Of course, that 60 is pretty bad. It went to the quarter at 1146 at 119, and the 8th mile was a 730 at 96.82 miles per hour, which honestly, you know, a street hit and feathering the gas, I feathered that gas so hard. I didn't really, I wasn't full throttle until probably around 5,000 RPM is when I had full throttle. But, you know, all in all, not too bad for a street hit. I'm very tempted to take it to this no prep event, put down some sticky and put a really slow nitrous ramp in it. And it will definitely go into the 6s with a no prep event with some nitrous. So hopefully this information is useful, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and keep on wrenching, and peace.